I hadn't seen him in 8 years. He used to call me Miss Diana. Back then, he was just a boy in my classroom. Smart, quiet, sad. But last week, he stood in my doorway. Taller, older, different, and he called me by my first name. The moment our eyes met, I felt something shift. Not in him, in me. That night, something happened I never imagined. Something that made me question every boundary I thought I'd never cross. Was it loneliness? Was it need? Or was it the first time someone truly saw me? I've never told anyone this. But I need to, because if I don't, I'll carry this forever. So here it is. What my son, my stepson, did that night. Left me breathless. Is this where Diana lives? That voice. I hadn't heard it in 8 years, but my heart recognized it before my ears could catch up. It used to call me Co-Diana with a respectful hesitance. Now, it simply said, Diana, like an old lover returning. But Ethan was never my lover. He was my student. My ex-husband's kid brother. My unfinished chapter. He wasn't the same Ethan I once knew. This one moved with quiet confidence, letting his tool bag drop by the counter. This way? He asked, motioning to the hallway. I nodded, leading him toward the master bathroom. Halfway there, I realized I hadn't fixed my hair, hadn't changed out of the soft sweater I slept in. I pulled my sleeves down reflexively. He didn't stare. He didn't smile. He just saw me. And that, somehow, was worse. Blank, _blank. So, how long have you been doing this? 5 years, he said without pause, started right after, everything. Everything. He didn't have to say more. We both knew what everything meant. The bathroom hadn't changed since the divorce. Same cracked tile by the sink. Same chipped mirror I avoided looking into. Ethan bent down, checking under the sink. His back flexed under the weight of old pipes and new silences. You okay with cold water for a bit? He asked. Been okay with worse, I replied. He paused. Then slowly nodded, as if acknowledging the truth beneath my words. Blank, _blank. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching him work. I didn't expect you, I admitted. He smirked faintly, neither did I. Blank, _blank. You look the same, I said, unsure why. People change, he replied, without looking up. And I wanted to ask. Have you? Have I? Or did we just bury what never got said? He had been 17 when I last saw him. Shy, angry, brilliant in quiet ways. He never fit in with his brother's family. We used to spend hours over books he pretended to hate. Shakespeare, Plath, Neruda. He once asked me what forbidden meant. I told him, something you shouldn't want, but can't help wanting. He didn't blink, just wrote it down like a commandment. Blank, _blank. Now, a decade later, he stood inches from me again, fixing what was broken. This faucet, he muttered, keeps leaking where no one's looking. I inhaled sharply. Not from the words, but from the way he looked at me after. I'll grab a towel, I offered, turning to the cabinet. As I handed it to him, our fingers brushed. His skin was rougher now. Mine trembled. He didn't flinch. But he didn't pull away either. Just held my gaze for 1 second too long. Like a question that begged for an answer we weren't allowed to say out loud. Blank, _blank. You okay, Diana? Not ma'am. Not co. Just, Diana. Like I was no longer above him. No longer a chapter closed. Just a woman. Alone. Unspoken. He finished the repairs. Tightened the knobs. Tested the heat. All done, he said, slinging the toolbox back over his shoulder. I nodded, thanking him with a whisper. As he walked out, I noticed him pause at the threshold. He didn't look back. But he didn't rush away either. Blank, underscore, blank. And for a brief, breathless moment, I wondered what would have happened if I had asked him to stay just 5 minutes longer. Just long enough to undo years of silence. I should go. That was the first thing I said as Ethan wiped his hands and packed his tools. But I didn't move. Neither did he. The room smelled faintly of rust, lemon cleaner, and something warmer, memory. We stood in the hallway like two people waiting for a storm to pass. Though no rain had fallen yet. Do you still teach? He asked. Finally. It was the question I always hated most. Like someone digging into a wound I pretended had healed. I shook my head. Not since the move, not since everything. He nodded, his face unreadable. You were the only one who made sense when I was 17. I tried to smile, but it came out crooked. You were just a kid. I'm 26 now, he said, eyes steady. I fix things for a living. I own a truck. I pay taxes. I laughed, soft, uncertain. You want a medal? He stepped closer. No, I want to be seen. Blank, underscore, blank. And just like that, I couldn't breathe. Because I did see him. Not as the boy from before, but as a man now. And somehow, that made it harder. Do you want coffee? I asked. He hesitated. I shouldn't. I didn't ask what you should do, I said, trying to sound playful, but my voice cracked. He followed me to the kitchen. I busied myself with the machine, every button louder than it should have been, every silence between us heavier than air. When I passed him the mug, our fingers brushed again. I didn't pull away. This time, neither did he. Blank, underscore, blank. Still make it too strong? He teased. You still drink it with too much cream. We both smiled, and then neither of us did. He reached for his mug, but knocked over the small picture frame beside it. It clattered to the ground, glass shattering. He bent down to pick it up. It was a photo of me, back when I was 33. The year I got married. The year everything still looked hopeful. You kept this? He asked. I crouched beside him, not on purpose, it just never left. He looked at me differently after that. Like the woman in the photo didn't match the one handing him a coffee in an oversized sweater and bare feet. You look better now, he said. Don't lie. I'm not. I took the broken frame, laid it flat on the counter, and turned back to him. What do you want from me, Ethan? I asked. He blinked. Nothing. Then why are you still here? He hesitated, and the answer didn't come easily. Because I remember the way you used to talk to me. Not like I was broken. Not like I was someone else's responsibility. He took a breath. I used to think about you, after I left, more than I should have. I didn't say anything. Because I had to. When he reached to pick up the towel, his hand brushed against my knee. Neither of us flinched. That moment hung in the air like a question. I stood still, letting him move first, but he didn't. His fingers stayed there, just resting. Not grabbing. Not groping. Just existing. Like they belonged. Blank, underscore, blank. He looked up, eyes meeting mine. If I stay another minute, I won't want to leave. I should have told him to go. I didn't. When he finally stepped back, we were both breathless. I'll come by tomorrow to check the faucet again, he said. I nodded. He walked to the door. Paused. And for the briefest moment, I thought he'd say something, confess, explain, apologize. He didn't. He just said, "Good night, Diana," and left. The next day, I didn't wear the black sweater. I wore the cream blouse. The one with sleeves too thin for autumn. The one Ethan had once said reminded him of snow when he was 17. I wasn't pretending to be casual anymore. At exactly 9 a.m., the doorbell rang. Not 3 times like yesterday, just once. Confident, like he knew I'd open it. When I did, he stood there, same toolbag in hand, but his eyes didn't scan the house this time. They scanned me. "Hey," he said. His voice was steadier than mine. "Did the faucet misbehave again?" he teased. I wanted to laugh. But all I could manage was, "Come in. Blank, underscore, blank." He walked past me, his shoulder grazing mine. And that was all it took. The memory of yesterday rushed back in, his hand brushing my knee. His voice saying, "Good night, Diana," like it meant don't forget me. He didn't go straight to the bathroom. He put down his bag at the kitchen counter. "Mind if I make the coffee this time?" I blinked. "You remember how?" He nodded, already reaching for the filters. "You used to tell me I over-creamed. I've matured." I leaned against the doorway. He moved like he belonged there. Like he always had. I shouldn't have let him. But I did. Blank, underscore, blank. He passed me a cup, careful not to touch. But my fingers reached anyway. This time, our hands didn't brush. They held. Just for a second. Too short for scandal. Too long for innocence. "The faucet's fine," he admitted later. I stared at him. "Then why are you here?" He didn't lie. "Because I wanted to be." He paused. "Because when I left this house 8 years ago, you were the only part that didn't feel cold." My breath caught. "You were a boy," I said. "And now I'm not." Blank, underscore, blank. He stepped into the bathroom anyway, knelt by the sink, tools untouched. The cracked mirror reflected us, me behind him, watching, wanting. "I used to imagine you, you know," he said without looking up. I swallowed. "Don't." But he didn't stop. I imagined what it would have been like if I'd been older. If I had stayed. I stood in the bathroom doorway again, like yesterday. Same tiles, same silence. But this time, I didn't keep my arms crossed. He looked up from beneath the sink, gaze rising slowly, shoulders, collarbone, throat, lips, until our eyes locked. "You don't have to say anything," he said. "I know this is complicated." Complicated? No. This was forbidden. This was a line drawn years ago, never to be crossed. But lines don't matter when no one's watching. Only breathing. Blank, underscore, blank. He reached for the faucet. But his hand paused. And mine reached over his, fingers barely grazing. "Still leaks," I whispered. He didn't look at the faucet. He looked at me. Like I was the thing breaking. He stood slowly, and the space between us vanished. Only inches now. His breath warm. My heartbeat louder than the ticking wall clock. "I should leave," he said. "You should," I whispered. Neither of us moved. Blank, underscore, blank. "You know what would happen if we let this go," I said. "I do." "And?" His jaw tightened. "Then let it go." I closed my eyes. He didn't kiss me. But his hand cupped my cheek, so gently, like he was afraid I'd vanish. And I almost did. blank, underscore, blank. Then. The sound of a car outside. A dog barking. A neighbor calling a child's name. The spell broke. He stepped back. Fast. As if he needed air. So did I. Ethan grabbed his bag. This time, he didn't promise to come back. He didn't look me in the eye. I walked him to the door, heart thudding, mouth dry. He turned, just once, before stepping out. I didn't come here to break you, he said. I came because you made me whole. Once. Blank, underscore, blank. I didn't answer. Because I couldn't. Because if I did, I would have begged him to stay. And I wasn't ready to cross that line. Not yet. The third time he came over, we didn't talk about the faucet. We didn't need an excuse anymore. And that terrified me more than anything. The morning was colder than the last. I didn't wear the cream blouse this time. I wore nothing special, at least. That's what I told myself. But the moment I heard his truck pull into the driveway, I checked my reflection, twice. And I left the front door unlocked. Blank, underscore, blank. He let himself in. Coffee? He asked. Already made, I said. He poured his cup without asking. He knew where the mugs were. He leaned against the counter. I stayed by the window, my hands around my cup. Diana, he said quietly, are you afraid of me? I turned. No, I said, I'm afraid of me. Blank, underscore, blank. He didn't smile, he didn't step closer. But the space between us burned like sunlight on cold skin. It started with a single step. Then another. No rush. He stopped an arm's length away. I keep thinking about yesterday, he said. So do I. And I keep wondering. If we'll do it again? No, if we'll finally stop pretending. Blank, underscore, blank. His hand reached for mine. I didn't move away. Our fingers laced, nervously, like teenagers. My heart slammed against my ribs. He raised my hand slowly, gently brushing his lips against my knuckles. Something inside me trembled. I'm not asking for forever, he said, I'm just asking for this. I should have said no. I didn't. We didn't run. We didn't stumble into passion like people in movies. We walked, together, into the bedroom. Silently, with reverence. Like we knew this moment would change everything. Blank, underscore, blank. He touched my cheek like I was fragile. Like this wasn't just desire, but something holy. I never stopped thinking about you, he whispered. Not even once. I closed my eyes. You were just a boy, I said again. He rested his forehead against mine. I'm not anymore. Blank, underscore, blank. When he kissed me, it wasn't fire. It was rain. Slow, healing. Like something that had waited too long finally finding its place. And when I let my hands slide around his back, when I felt his breath catch, I knew. We were already past the point of return. We didn't talk much after. We lay in silence. Not the awkward kind. The kind that holds everything unsaid, like a sacred agreement. He traced lazy circles on my shoulder. I watched the light shift across the ceiling. Does this feel wrong to you? He asked. I thought about it. Then shook my head. It feels inevitable. Blank, underscore, blank. But when he rose to dress, I watched his back, the one I'd touched hours ago, and a wave of panic set in. What happens now? I asked. He paused. You tell me. I had no answer. Because I hadn't let myself think past this. As he tied his boots, I sat at the edge of the bed, wrapped in the sheet like it could protect me. "Will you stay?" I asked. His eyes softened. "I want to. But I don't want to hurt you." I laughed, bitter. "You already have. Blank, underscore, blank." He looked stunned. "I didn't mean." "I know," I said quickly. "It's not you, it's what this means." He sat beside me. "This doesn't have to be anything more than it is." "But it already is," I whispered. Blank, underscore, blank. And he didn't deny it. He left through the back door. Didn't want the neighbors to see. Didn't want to raise questions. Didn't want to explain. Neither did I. Blank, underscore, blank. After the door shut, I sat alone in the kitchen. The cup he drank from still on the table. My lipstick smudged on the rim. Blank, underscore, blank. I picked it up. Not to clean, but to hold. Because something had been poured into me that I couldn't name. Not lust. Not guilt. But a warmth that scared me more than any shame could. Blank, underscore, blank. And somewhere, deep in the walls of this quiet house, I knew something had shifted. For better or worse. I wasn't the same woman anymore. I didn't hear from Ethan for 2 days. And strangely, I didn't panic. There was a stillness inside me, one I hadn't felt in years, like a storm had passed and left the air cleaner. Clearer. I busied myself with mundane things, watering the plants, folding the laundry, scrubbing a bathroom that suddenly felt full of memories. I'd catch myself smiling mid-task, not because I thought we were in love, but because I felt seen. That was enough, for now. Until the phone rang. Blank, underscore, blank. It was a number I didn't recognize, but I answered, out of habit. "Hello?" Silence. Then a woman's voice. "Hi, sorry, this is kind of awkward. Is this Diana Harper?" "Yes, who's calling?" "I'm Ava, Ethan's girlfriend." The smile froze on my lips. My entire body tensed. "I hope I'm not overstepping," she continued quickly, "but I found your number saved under his recently called list. And, well, he's been acting strange, distant, and I just needed to ask." I cleared my throat, fighting the weight rising in my chest. "What is it you need to ask, Ava? Are you two involved?" A beat, a breath, a choice. "I think you should ask him that." "I did," she said, her voice breaking, "and he wouldn't give me an answer." Blank, underscore, blank. I hung up, slowly, gently, as if the phone itself were fragile glass. Then I sat on the couch and stared at nothing. I had never asked Ethan if he was seeing someone. Not directly. He said things were complicated. I had assumed, no. I had hoped. But I had never asked. And now a girl, a young woman, was crying because of something I'd helped create. The silence in the room now felt heavy, accusatory. Blank, underscore, blank. That evening, I stood in front of the mirror longer than usual. I studied my reflection, not with vanity, but with sharp honesty. I saw the lines around my mouth, the grays threaded in my hair, the weariness in my eyes, the kind of beauty you earn through loss and survival. And yet, I also saw softness. A flicker of warmth that hadn't been there months ago. Maybe I had given Ethan something he needed. But what had I taken? Blank, underscore, blank. He showed up the next day. No text, no call, just the knock on my door again. When I opened it, I could see the weight on his face. "I need to talk," he said. I stepped aside, He walked in. I got a call, I said flatly. I know. He sat on the edge of the couch, elbows on knees, hands clasped. I wasn't trying to hide her. But I didn't want to talk about her either. Because she's part of a life I don't feel connected to anymore. I leaned against the counter, arms folded. She's in pain. I know, he said again, eyes dark, and it's killing me. Then why are you here? His voice cracked. Because this is the only place I feel honest. I sat across from him. Ethan, I'm not asking you to pick. I already have, he said. That night, it changed everything for me. It changed me too, I whispered. Blank, underscore, blank. We didn't touch that day. Didn't kiss, didn't even sit side by side. But we talked, really talked. About guilt, about age, about the strange, magnetic pull between us that refused to fade. He didn't move in, he didn't promise me forever. But he came back the next day. And the one after that. Not always for long, not always with words. Sometimes, just to sit on the porch. Sometimes, just to bring me coffee. But the rhythm grew, a pattern. Until it wasn't just a secret. It was a connection neither of us could, or wanted to, deny. Blank, underscore, blank. Then came the second call. Not from Ava this time. From my son. Blank, underscore, blank. Mom, we need to talk. Jason's voice was tight, controlled. He was 29, married, 2 kids, living 3 states away. We spoke once a week. Updates, weather, the occasional story about the grandkids. But this time, his voice carried something else. I don't want to believe the things I heard, he said. My breath caught. What things? I'm going to ask you something. Please, just be honest. Okay. Are you seeing someone named Ethan? Silence. Mom? I inhaled sharply. Yes. Jesus, he muttered. Mom, do you even know how this looks? I didn't ask for this, I said calmly, but I won't pretend it's nothing. He's my age. I know. He's your former student. Yes. There was silence on the other end. Then. I don't even know what to say to you. You don't have to say anything, Jason, just know that I'm not ashamed. Click. He hung up. Blank, underscore, blank. I cried that night. Not because I felt guilty. But because I had never felt so old and so young at the same time. Like I was rediscovering life while losing parts of it. Jason didn't call again for 2 weeks. Neither did Ava. But Ethan came. Always. Blank, underscore, blank. One Sunday, we sat outside watching the wind play with the trees. He looked at me, unblinking. I know this can't last forever. I nodded. I don't want to cage you. He reached for my hand. You don't. I just want to remember this part. The is part, before the world ruins it. He smiled. Then let's protect it while it lasts. Blank, underscore, blank. Weeks passed. One day bled into another. Rumors started. A neighbor mentioned a young man visiting often. A former colleague raised an eyebrow during a casual lunch. Whispers, glances, questions not asked, but clearly thought. And still, he came. Blank, underscore, blank. Then one night, he didn't. No call, no message. Nothing. I waited. The next day, I texted. Everything okay? No reply. 2 more days passed. Then a message. I'm sorry, I need time, something's come up. No explanation. Just space. Blank, underscore, blank. The house felt colder. Emptier. Not because I needed him, but because I had let myself feel again. And now that space inside me wasn't just empty. It was aware of its emptiness. Blank, underscore, blank. A week later, the doorbell rang. He stood there, eyes red, posture tense. Can I come in? I stepped aside. He didn't speak for a long time. Finally, he said, Ava's pregnant. I said nothing. He continued, it's not planned. She doesn't know what to do. Neither do I. I swallowed the storm in my throat. And what do you feel? He sat down, rubbed his face, lost. You should be with her. He looked up. What if I don't want to? Ethan, this was never supposed to be forever. I know, he whispered. But it was real, I said, voice trembling. Don't you ever pretend it wasn't. He crossed the room, pulled me into his arms. I just wanted to say goodbye properly. I let him hold me. And when he left, I didn't cry. I just sat still. Remembering. It's been 8 months since Ethan walked out of my life. And not a day has passed without me thinking of him. But not in the way I expected. There is no rage, no bitterness, no shame. Just a quiet ache, like the echo of laughter in an empty house. Sometimes I still check my phone. Not because I expect him to call. But because muscle memory is hard to erase. Blank, underscore, blank. The house hasn't changed much. The faucet he fixed still runs smoothly. The towel rack he tightened hasn't budged an inch. But I've changed. There's less hesitation in my movements now. More grace in the silence I live in. It's funny, really. How something so taboo, so unexpected, can open a part of you that you thought had long died. Blank, underscore, blank. People ask if I regret it. I don't. They wouldn't understand anyway. They see an older woman and a younger man and immediately reach for scandal. Mockery, judgment. But they didn't see the way he looked at me when I didn't think I was beautiful. They didn't see the nights we sat in silence and still understood each other better than anyone else ever had. They didn't see me become someone again. Someone alive. Blank, underscore, blank. Jason, my son, still calls once a week now. It took a while. We didn't speak for nearly 2 months after that last conversation. Then one day, he texted. I still don't get it, but I love you, and I want my kids to know their grandmother. That was his way of saying he forgave me. Even if he didn't understand. That was enough. Blank, underscore, blank. I've also picked up painting again. It started on a whim, a leftover canvas in the closet. Some old brushes. Now, my living room wall is filled with gentle strokes of blue, lavender, burnt sienna. Colors that say the things I still don't know how to speak. One of them is a silhouette of a man by a window. His figure outlined by morning light. I didn't mean to paint Ethan. But there he was. In the shadow, in the stillness. Blank, underscore, blank. Ava never called again. I don't know what happened to them. Sometimes I imagine Ethan holding a baby with cautious hands. Or maybe standing at a window of his own, thinking about a woman he once repaired a faucet for. That's how I make peace with it. By imagining that maybe he misses me too. Blank, underscore, blank. There's a tree outside my kitchen window. It blooms late, after all the others. When the rest of the neighborhood gardens are flush with color, this tree remains bare, patient. Then one day, when no one expects it, the branches burst into soft white blossoms. As if to say, I was never late, I was waiting for my moment. That tree is me. Blank, underscore, blank. I've started teaching again. Just part-time. An adult education class at the community center. Creative writing. Most of my students are women in their 50s and 60s. Divorcees, widows, survivors. We sit in a circle and read aloud stories filled with pain and resilience and small victories. Sometimes, I hear my own voice in their words. And sometimes, they hear their voices in mine. That, too, is healing. Blank, underscore, blank. One woman wrote a piece about a man who came to fix her air conditioner. She never named him. But her eyes shimmered when she read it aloud. After class, she pulled me aside. You know, sometimes life gives you a little fire before it goes cold again. And maybe that's okay. I smiled. I didn't need to respond. We both understood. Blank, underscore, blank. There are still bad days. Days when I question everything. Was I selfish? Was I foolish? Did I imagine it all? But then I remember the way Ethan would whisper my name like it mattered. The way his presence filled a room not with noise, but with warmth. And I remember that it did happen. It mattered. It mattered because it ended. Blank, underscore, blank. I found an old voicemail from him the other day. Accidentally. It was dated 3 weeks before he left for good. Hey, just wanted to say I fixed the leaky spot in the back pipe. Should hold now. Also, I left some extra tea in the cabinet. You always say you forget to buy it. That's all. Hope your night's peaceful. I saved it. Not because I cling to it, but because it reminds me of a time when someone cared enough to notice the tea I liked. Sometimes, that's all love is. Not fireworks. Just noticing. Blank, underscore, blank. I haven't dated since. Not because I'm closed off, but because I haven't felt the need to fill the silence. My solitude doesn't scare me anymore. I know what it's like to be wanted. And I know what it's like to want with no apologies. That's enough. Blank, underscore, blank. People like to say life comes in chapters. But some stories don't follow rules. Some are footnotes, scribbles in the margins, half-formed sentences that end mid-word. Ethan was a parenthesis in my life. A beautiful, necessary interruption. One that changed the meaning of everything around it. Blank, underscore, blank. There are nights I light a candle and sit in the bath with music playing low. Jazz, something old, something warm. I lean back, close my eyes. Let the water wash over me like a memory. And I allow myself to feel it all again. The fear, the thrill, the ache, the tenderness. I don't numb it. I honor it. Blank, underscore, blank. Because love, even the impossible kind, is worth remembering. Not because it lasted, but because it taught. Taught me that I am more than a widow. More than a mother. More than the roles people assign me. I am a woman. And I was wanted. Blank, underscore, blank. I think Ethan knew it wouldn't last, even when it began. But he didn't run. He stayed, he risked, he gave me what I didn't know I needed. And for that, I'll always be grateful. Blank, underscore, blank. Some nights, I still imagine him knocking again. Bag of tools in hand. That sheepish smile. Asking if anything needs fixing. And I'd smile back and say, yes, but maybe not the faucet this time. Blank, underscore, blank. That's the end of our story. Not the end of my life. Just the end of that page. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of a new one. The morning sunlight pierced through the blinds like an unwelcome guest. I hadn't slept. Neither had Ethan. We had spent the night in silence, sitting on opposite ends of the couch. The weight of Margaret's words still hung in the room like smoke from a candle that refused to burn out. "You're not young anymore, Diana. Don't make a fool of yourself. Blank, underscore, blank." I was still hearing it on repeat. And worse, a part of me believed it. Blank, underscore, blank. I made coffee. Ethan stood by the window, shirtless, watching the neighborhood come alive. Children were boarding the school bus. A woman walked her poodle. A man from the wall waved to a neighbor. Normal life. "We don't fit in here," he said without turning around. I stirred sugar into my cup, trying to mask my trembling fingers. "We never did," I said. He finally looked at me. "Then why do we pretend to?" Blank, underscore, blank. That hit harder than I wanted to admit. Blank, underscore, blank. I leaned against the counter. "Because I'm not 26. Ethan, I can't just disappear and start over." "You think I can?" "You should." He frowned. "Don't say that." Blank, underscore, blank. I took a deep breath. "I just want one day where no one watches us. One moment where I'm not ashamed of what I feel." He stepped closer. "Then leave with me." Blank, underscore, blank. Silence. A single word that divided everything between us. Blank, underscore, blank. "Leave?" I repeated. "We could drive upstate, somewhere no one knows us. Get a small place, start over." "Like in a movie?" "No, like in our life." I almost smiled, almost. "And what would we do? What would I do? Be the scandalous 60-year-old woman running off with her handyman?" He flinched at that. "That's not what you are. That's what they see." Blank, underscore, blank. He turned away. "Maybe it's what you see." Blank, underscore, blank. That hurt more than I expected. Blank, underscore, blank. "Ethan," I whispered, "I'm scared, not of you, of everything." He looked back. His eyes weren't angry, just tired. "Me too, but I'd rather be scared and free than safe and miserable." Blank, underscore, blank. His hand brushed mine, but I didn't take it. Not yet. The phone rang. It was Cynthia. I hesitated. "Answer it," Ethan said. Blank, underscore, blank. I did. "Diana, have you seen what people are saying on the neighborhood app?" My stomach dropped. "No, why?" "Margaret posted something cryptic last night. About inappropriate conduct and moral decay next door. It's vague, but people are guessing, comment after comment." I sat down. "You think they know it's about me?" "They don't need proof, they just need to believe it." Blank, underscore, blank. I could hear my own pulse. "Diana, are you okay?" I wasn't. But I said yes. Blank, underscore, blank. When I hung up, Ethan was already packing a bag. "What are you doing?" "What we should have done days ago. Leaving." "And go where?" "Anywhere but here." Blank, underscore, blank. He looked at me like it was now or never. And maybe it was. Blank, underscore, blank. I followed him to the front door. "I didn't mean to ruin your life," he said. "You didn't. Then why do you look like you're already grieving?" Blank, underscore, blank. I opened my mouth to speak. But I couldn't. Blank, underscore, blank. You still have time, he said, to choose us. Ethan? He kissed my forehead. I'll wait, but not forever. He left without slamming the door. And that quiet hurt more than anything else. Blank, underscore, blank. I stood there, still. Frozen. Like if I moved, I'd shatter. Blank, underscore, blank. The house was too quiet. Too still. The coffee had gone cold. The chair still held his scent. The mirror showed a woman I barely recognized, exhausted, conflicted, alone. Blank, underscore, blank. I picked up his cup. Held it like it was the last piece of him I had. Then I walked to the window. Margaret was outside again, pretending to trim her bushes. She looked up. I looked right back. And I didn't look away. Blank, underscore, blank. This isn't over, I whispered to no one. And I'm not done choosing. There's a moment when you stop running. Not because you're not afraid, but because fear no longer owns you. Blank, underscore, blank. The house creaked as if mourning his absence. I didn't move for hours. Didn't eat. Didn't turn on the TV. I just sat there, staring at the dent his keys had left on the table. The space where he usually placed his mug. The faint scent of soap he used still hanging on the blanket. Blank, underscore, blank. I should have stopped it before it began. But I didn't. And now everything was broken, or maybe finally coming undone. Just enough to be rebuilt. By 3 p.m., the doorbell rang. I knew it was her before I even looked. Margaret. The one who started this entire wildfire with her innocent smile and poisonous words. I opened the door slowly. She didn't even wait to be invited in. Diana, we need to talk. I crossed my arms. You seem to be doing a lot of that lately. Blank, underscore, blank. She huffed and walked in like she owned the place. Look, I didn't mean for the post to spiral. But you should know, people are watching. Talking. Let them. You really don't care? I care more about what's real than what they think they know. Blank, underscore, blank. She squinted at me. He's just a boy, Diana. He's 26. You're twice his age. And yet he made me feel more alive than anyone else has in years. Blank, underscore, blank. Silence. Blank, underscore, blank. You think that makes it okay? She asked. I stepped forward, voice low but firm. I think judging someone for loving after loss is far worse. Blank, underscore, blank. Her face softened for a moment, then hardened again. You'll lose everything. I already did. My husband, my routine, my pride. What's one more thing? Blank, underscore, blank. I walked her to the door. But I won't lose myself. And I shut it in her face. That night, I couldn't sleep again. So I wrote a letter. To Ethan. Not to send, just to say what I couldn't speak aloud. Blank, underscore, blank. Dear Ethan. I've never been good at explaining myself. But you saw through me like no one else. And I'm scared because I don't know if this was love, or a longing that wore the same costume. But I know I didn't want it to end. You made me feel seen. Not pitied, not tolerated, seen. Maybe that's selfish. Maybe I used you to remember what it felt like to be touched again. But if I did, I'm sorry. And if I didn't, if this was real, then I hope you felt it too. I sealed the envelope and placed it on the kitchen table. Then stared at it for an hour. Before finally tucking it into the back of a drawer. Some things didn't need to be delivered to matter. At 9:13 the next morning, there was a knock. I opened the door and there he was, holding coffee. And the plant I once told him I killed years ago, somehow alive again. Thought you could try again, he said with a crooked smile. Blank, underscore, blank. I laughed, actually laughed. Then cried. Harder than I had in weeks. He put everything down and wrapped me in his arms. No questions. No expectations. Just breath against breath, warm, familiar. Blank, underscore, blank. I didn't know if I'd see you again, I whispered. I didn't either, he replied, but then I remembered the way you looked at me that night. Like I wasn't a mistake. Blank, underscore, blank. He pulled back to look into my eyes. Did you mean it? Every word, every touch. He nodded. Then let's stop hiding. They'll never stop judging. Then let them. Blank, underscore, blank. This time, it was me who kissed him. Not rushed, not desperate. Just certain. Later that day, I logged into the neighborhood forum. The same one where the whispers had started. Margaret's post was still there, vague and passive-aggressive. I clicked, reply. And I typed. Hi Margaret, I saw your note. For the record, yes, someone has been spending time at my house. His name is Ethan, he's kind, respectful, and the only person who's treated me like a woman, not a widow, in a long time. If that makes me shameful, so be it. But let me ask you this, what would you rather see? A woman dying quietly of loneliness? Or one finally choosing to live again? I choose life, judge me if you must. And I hit post. My heart raced. Not from shame. But from freedom. When you've already lost everything, the fire no longer scares you, you walk through it. Blank, underscore, blank. I woke up to notifications. Emails, texts, missed calls. The neighborhood forum had exploded. Margaret's passive-aggressive post had turned into a full-blown wildfire, and I'd just thrown gasoline on it. Blank, underscore, blank. Some of the comments were cruel. Some were confused. But some were something else entirely. Blank, underscore, blank. Took guts to say that. Diana. Good for her. People act like widows aren't allowed to be human. Wow, that was raw and honest. Respect. Blank, underscore, blank. But then there were the others. Shameful. Desperate. Imagine being that lonely. Blank, underscore, blank. I made tea and sat on the porch. Ethan joined me quietly, placing a soft hand on mine. You okay? I nodded. I'm not proud of everything, but I'm not hiding anymore. He gave me a small, tired smile. Then let it burn. By late afternoon, Cynthia dropped by. My oldest friend. She wore big sunglasses and had that tight-lipped look that meant she'd been reading comments for hours. Blank, underscore, blank. You made a scene, she said, sitting down. It wasn't meant to be one. Well, it is. I know. She sighed. Some people think you're spiraling. And what do you think? She took off her glasses, finally meeting my eyes. I think you're finally awake. Blank, underscore, blank. I blinked. That's not what I expected. It's not what I expected to say. She pulled out a folded piece of paper from her purse. Read this later. It's something I wrote when Dan died. About grief, about how lonely it got. Maybe you'll recognize yourself in it. Blank, underscore, blank. I took the paper, held it like a secret. Thank you. Just don't lose yourself in proving them wrong. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just done apologizing for being alive. Blank, underscore, blank. She nodded. Then left without another word. Sometimes that was all two old friends needed. That night, Ethan got a call from his mother. I watched from the kitchen as he answered. Yeah, I know. No, it's not a phase. She's not using me, I chose this. There was a pause. Then his voice broke. No, Mom, I'm not ashamed, you are. He hung up without slamming the phone. But his eyes were wet when he turned around. Blank, underscore, blank. She said I'm throwing my life away. Because of me? Because I love someone she doesn't understand. Blank, underscore, blank. I stepped closer. You don't have to choose me over your family. I'm not. I'm choosing me, and you're part of that. Blank, underscore, blank. He kissed my forehead, but I felt the heaviness in him. This kind of choice, between love and blood, was a pain I wouldn't wish on anyone. Blank, underscore, blank. Do you regret it? I asked. He didn't hesitate. Not 1 second. 3 days later, I went to the grocery store. And that's when it happened. Margaret, Cynthia, some of the others. All standing near the bakery aisle, whispering. I walked past them with my head high. But I felt it. Like needles in my spine. Blank, underscore, blank. One of them, a woman named Cheryl, stepped forward. You should be ashamed. I paused. Why? For loving someone who made me feel alive again? He's a child. He's 26, and I didn't steal him. I didn't lure him, I just connected. With someone your son's age. Blank, underscore, blank. That stung. Even if it was true. Would it be easier for you if I was a man? That shut her up. The others stayed quiet too. I turned and walked away. Hands shaking. Heart pounding. But I didn't cry. Blank, underscore, blank. Not until I got into the car. And then it all came pouring out. Blank, underscore, blank. But when I got home, Ethan was already waiting with takeout and 2 wine glasses. You don't have to say a word, he said. So I didn't. We just ate, in silence, together. A week passed. The storm began to quiet. People got bored, moved on to the next scandal. Margaret's posts stopped getting likes. Newer, shinier gossip took over. And we, Ethan and I, we didn't vanish. We went to the farmer's market. Held hands at the dog park. Ate at the corner cafe where everyone could see. Blank, underscore, blank. Some people still stared. But others smiled. One old man even tipped his hat. Takes courage to live loud, he said. Blank, underscore, blank. That night, I opened Cynthia's letter. And I cried. Because it said everything I'd felt but couldn't say. About grief. About needing something, someone, to remind you you're still human. Blank, underscore, blank. Ethan held me as I wept. And when I looked up at him, all I said was, thank you for not letting me disappear. Blank, underscore, blank. He kissed my hand. We walked through fire. Let them talk. We made it. The wind outside carries no urgency now. It whispers gently through the trees, rustling the leaves like memories that no longer hurt, just exist. I sit on the porch, wrapped in the faded blue shawl Ethan once complimented, a book resting closed in my lap, not because the story is over, but because I'm no longer afraid of where the next chapter leads. Blank, underscore, blank. Inside, The kettle whistles softly. The scent of jasmine tea drifts through the doorway. I've learned to savor the little things, sunlight on hardwood floors. The hum of the old fridge. The way my heart no longer races for someone else's return. Because I've returned to myself. Blank, underscore, blank. Ethan was a season. A fierce one. But I am the soil that remained after the storm. Richer, softer, still growing. Blank, underscore, blank. The letter I never sent stays folded between pages of my favorite novel. Sometimes I reread it. Not for closure. But to remember that love, even when unfinished, is never wasted. Blank, underscore, blank. If he ever knocks again, maybe I'll answer. Or maybe I'll just smile, knowing I already did, in the only way that mattered. Blank, underscore, blank. In silence. In stillness. In strength.